What if the story that once kept you safe is now keeping you stuck? Some stories were never meant to last forever. They helped you survive, but now they're holding the pen and they are writing the future. Letting go of a story doesn't mean pretending it didn't matter. It doesn't mean it wasn't real. It doesn't mean that you're betraying the younger version of you who needed that story to survive. Letting go means this: your old story doesn't get to be the director of your life anymore. It can sit in a theater, it can even have a role in the play, but it doesn't get to run the show and be center stage. And yet, for so many of us, our old stories are still running the show. They're deciding how much we risk, how much we rest, how much we love, how much we allow in, how much trust we extend. And they're dictating our nervous system state every single day. Now, today we're talking about what it actually looks like to release those stories, not with toxic positivity, not with a snap your fingers kind of reframe, but with compassion and regulation and practice. And I'm going to walk you through my favorite framework, the grace process that I created. And I'll give you practical ways to start embodying your new story so it doesn't just live in your head, but in your body, in your breath, and in your daily life. Welcome back to the Resilience Podcast, episode 255, releasing the story that kept you safe, that keeps you safe.
Welcome to Building Resilience, a podcast where theory, practical strategies, and inspiring stories show you how to unlock your best life. I'm your host, Leah Davidson. As a certified life coach, speech-language pathologist, and nervous system resilience expert, it is my mission to teach you how to be more resilient to life's adversities. I will show you how to manage your mind, befriend your nervous system, process your emotions, and even eliminate stress. It's time to do more than just survive. It's time to thrive. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. So we are in the final episode of our 3-part ReStory series. But before we get started, I wanted to share with you about my workshop mini course. Now, many people came to a workshop that I hosted a couple times throughout this past year called It's Not Just Your Thoughts, It's Your Nervous System with a Creative Twist. Now, this is where you learned about your nervous system and we mapped it out doodle style. You doodled your nervous system. And I know that so many of you found it helpful. So I created a workshop mini course where you get the workshops plus the bonus video, plus some bonus download resources that can help you with integration. The link is in the show notes. It's just $9, or you can get it for free if you're a member of the Nervous System Journaling Club. So check it out. It's a fun way to get to know your nervous system. And of course, it pairs nicely with my Resilience Journal, which is available on Amazon. All right, back to our episode today. Now, a couple weeks ago, when we started this series about stories on episode 253, we looked at why stories matter, and we looked at the inherited stories, the internalized stories, the protective stories, and how they all shape what goes on in your body and your brain. And then last week on episode 254, we explored how to shift a story. And there are different ways that you can do that through your lens, through your language, and through your nervous system state. And today we're going to talk about the part that a lot of us struggle with: how to actually let go of a story. Not forgetting it or not pretending that it wasn't important, but almost like loosening the grip on it so it doesn't define you so much. It doesn't define your present moment or dictate your future. And this is where healing really happens, because it really is not about erasing the past. It's about choosing who you're becoming in the present. All right, so first let's remember that your old stories, they did once serve you. They weren't mistakes. They weren't weaknesses. They were actually survival strategies. So maybe your story was something like, I need to keep everybody happy, or I'm going to lose their love. And that story may have helped you avoid some conflict in childhood. It may have even protected you from rejection. Or maybe your story was, I can't trust anyone. Well, maybe that story may have shielded you from betrayal when you were already really raw. Or maybe your story was, if I don't try, I can't fail. Well, that one might have protected you from shame in environments where mistakes weren't safe. So these stories made sense. And they were brilliant. They were brilliant stories to help you adapt and cope. But now, maybe these stories are keeping your nervous system stuck and locked in the past. Maybe they are telling your body, brace, be on guard, or stay small, be invisible. Now, you can think of it like you're always carrying around a heavy winter coat. Now, in January, Toronto, you absolutely need it. But if you're still wearing that winter coat in July, you're going to be super sweaty, exhausted, and weighed down. So the coat wasn't bad. It just doesn't serve you anymore because the season changed. The same is true of your old stories. They were essential ones. But if you don't learn to release them, they can actually suffocate you. Now, from a nervous system perspective, your body doesn't just remember events, it remembers the stories about the events. So when your story is, I'm not safe, your muscles tighten, your breath shallows, your digestion slows down, and your immune system weakens. When your story is one of, I am safe, I am resourced, I can choose differently, well, your body opens, your nervous system shifts into a state where growth and healing are possible. And that's why letting go matters so much. Because you're not just changing your mind, you're actually changing your biology. So I want to share with you a framework that I created that can help you move through the process of releasing old stories. And we will use the acronym GRACE. So G is for gratitude. And we start here because gratitude's always a good place to start. It's the state that tells your nervous system we're safe enough to soften and relax. Gratitude disarms the body's defenses. It shifts you out of threat mode and into connection mode. And when you thank your old story, you're not glorifying it, you're just recognizing it for what it was, a protector doing its best with limited tools. Now, remember, your nervous system is wired for survival. So every story you've ever carried, even the painful ones, began as a brilliant strategy to keep you safe or keep you loved or keep you accepted. Gratitude allows you to see that truth clearly without the judgment. So it can sound something like, thank you for keeping me safe when I was little. Or thank you for helping me disappear when it really wasn't safe to be seen. Or thank you for trying to protect me when I didn't yet know another way. Now, one of my clients once carried this story, I need to be invisible to be safe. Now, for years, she resented that belief. She wanted to reject it. She wanted to bury it and just erase it. But when she began to practice gratitude, to say, thank you for protecting me when visibility really did feel dangerous, something in her body shifted. So gratitude doesn't erase the story, but what it did for her is it changed her relationship with it. It softened her nervous system enough to see that the story was just data. And that's the power starting here. Gratitude isn't about pretending that everything was okay. It's about honoring that part of you that did survive. And from that place of safety and acknowledgement, the rest of the work, the recognition, the acceptance, compassion, and embodiment becomes possible. Next, R is for recognition. This is where we move from thinking about the story to actually feeling where it lives. Because stories aren't just ideas in our heads, they're embodied imprints. They live in our muscle tension, in our posture, in our breath patterns, in our facial expressions, and the rhythms of your heartbeat. Now, your nervous system has been carrying that story long before your mind ever tried to make sense of it. So I invite you to pause for a moment. Close your eyes if that feels safe to do. And ask yourself, where does this story live in my body? Is it a knot in my stomach that tightens when you anticipate rejection? Is it a weight in your chest that sinks in when you feel unseen? Or maybe it's a lump in your throat that forms when you are holding back the truth. Maybe it's tight shoulders or a clenched jaw or restless legs that can never quite relax. So recognition pulls the story out of the fog of the mind and brings it into the clarity of the body. But this is powerful because your body is what tells the brain whether you're safe or not. They send messages back and forth. And until the body feels seen, it cannot fully settle. So you can place a hand where you feel it most in your body and then breathe into that space and simply say, I see you. You've been carrying this a long time and I'm with you now. This is how you begin to repair the relationship with the part of you that's been holding all the weight. You're giving it what it needed all along: acknowledgement, presence, and compassion instead of avoidance or judgment. So recognition is not about fixing, it's about witnessing. It really is a bridge between awareness and healing, the point where the story kind of starts to loosen its grip because the body finally knows it's not alone anymore and it's safe. Now, A is for acceptance. This is the moment that you stop arguing with the past. You stop trying to edit and rationalize it and justify it or even rewrite it into something more comfortable. You simply acknowledge that story made sense then. It served me, and now I'm ready for something new. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that you liked what happened. It doesn't mean that you approve it or would ever have wanted to have it or you want to repeat it. It means that you're just done fighting reality. You're no longer pouring energy into wishing the past was different because that constant fight keeps your nervous system stuck in survival. When we argue with reality, we suffer. When we resist what's already happened, our body stays on high alert. Muscles tense, breath shortens, and the mind loops. Well, acceptance, on the other hand, is what allows the body to finally exhale and to move from protection to presence. I had a client that said she always attracted chaos. And for years, that story shaped her identity. But when she began to explore it through the lens of acceptance, she could see the truth underneath it. That was true when I didn't know how to set my boundaries. My nervous system equated chaos with connection. And it's quite common that that happens. But now when you're learning new skills, you can create calm without losing love and connection. So the story doesn't have to define you anymore. Now, next is C, and C stands for choice. This is the point where you stop letting your old story narrate your future story and start writing a new one, consciously, compassionately, and in the present tense. Choice is where healing actually becomes active. You're no longer reacting from protection. You are creating from possibility. And you can now ask yourself, what story do I want to tell now? And it doesn't have to be long or poetic, or a single sentence that feels believable enough for your nervous system to hold is where you can start. So instead of I'm broken, try something like I'm healing and growing stronger. Instead of I can't trust anyone, try I'm learning to trust wisely. Instead of I'm always such a mess, try I'm human and I'm learning. You're not forcing yourself into false positivity. You're choosing a story that honors both the pain and the progress, one that your body can actually believe. Now, think of your brain like a field. Every time you walk the same path, the grass gets trampled and a trail will form. That's your old story. It's familiar, it's automatic, it's very well worn. But every time you repeat a new story out loud, on paper, just in practice, you're actually carving a fresh trail. And at first, it's going to feel awkward and forced, and that's okay. The old path has been walked on for years. It's like a superhighway now. The new one is still very small and covered over. But with repetition and attention and safety, the old trail will begin to grow over and the new one will become your default route. That's what neuroplasticity is. Your brain literally is rewiring through experience. Each time you choose the new story, your nervous system gets the message, we're safe to do this differently now. Now, choice, it's not just a one-time decision, it's a daily practice, directing your brain or redirecting your brain toward who you're becoming instead of who you've been. And it takes a lot of practice and repetition. Next, E is for embodiment. This is where most people stop. But embodiment is what makes a story real. A story isn't just something that happens in your mind that you think. It's something that you live. Your nervous system doesn't learn safety through words. It learns it through experience. Words can help, but it does a better job of learning through breath and posture and expression and movement. Every signal your body sends, every inhale, every gesture, teaches your brain what's true. So once you've named your new story, it's time to practice being it. So you can ask yourself things like, how does this version of me show up? How does this version of me breathe? How do they hold their shoulders? How do they stand? How do they move through a room? What kind of pace do they walk at? Where do they soften? Where do they ground? If your new story is, I take up space, maybe embodiment looks like feeling both feet on the ground before speaking. Maybe it means letting your spine lengthen instead of shrinking. Maybe it means eye contact or uncrossing your arms and letting your chest expand and allowing your voice to take its full steady place in the room. If your new story is I'm safe to rest, then embodiment might mean unclenching your jaw or exhaling a little bit longer than you inhale, or just allowing your shoulders to melt back into a chair without guilt. Now, if your new story is I'm learning to trust, maybe embodiment is opening up your palms instead of tightly gripping them, a small physical act of surrender. Your body is the lie detector. It doesn't care what affirmation you repeat if your physiology is still speaking danger. But when you start aligning your breath, your movement, your posture with your new story, your nervous system gets the update. This is who we are now. So embodiment is where the old neural patterns begin to lose their charge and the new ones take root. It's not about performing a new identity. It's about living in it, living it from the inside out until your body, your brain, and the story are finally speaking the same language. So, how do you carry this into your daily life? Because this isn't a one-time exercise. This is a practice. Your nervous system learns through repetition and consistency and lived experience, not just through information alone. So the more often you interact with your new story in very small embodied ways, the faster it becomes your new normal. So I'm going to give you 3 simple ways to integrate this work into your everyday life. First, you can use what we'll call micro reminders. Think of these as like gentle nudges to remind your brain and your body of who you're becoming. So you can try things like writing your new story just on a sticky note and putting it on your bathroom mirror or your phone lock screen or on your water bottle or the first page of your journal. Every time you see it, you're going to pause and breathe. Maybe you'll read it out loud if you can, and sound and breath help too. They can help anchor these neural connections. So you might even add a physical cue, like placing your hand on your heart or taking one slow exhale. So that mindful moment, that repetition is how new neural pathways are formed. Every repetition says to your body, this story is safe to live now. So next, you can try some embodiment cues. You can anchor your new story into a small physical ritual that your nervous system can recognize and trust. So for example, if your story is I'm safe to rest, then each night as you crawl into bed, take one long, deliberate breath and simply say out loud, I am safe now. If your new story is I'm allowed to be seen, then every time you walk into a meeting, plant both feet on the ground, lift your head and your shoulders high, feel your shoulders open up. These micro moments of embodiment signal safety far more powerfully than just words alone. They're sending like a memo straight to your survival brain that says we are not in danger anymore. And lastly, we can look at integration questions. So reflection is what is going to complete this circuit. So maybe each night before you go to bed, take 1 minute and ask yourself, what old story did I thank and release today? What new story did I practice embodying? How did my body respond differently? So these very small check-ins build awareness. And awareness is what contributes to rewiring our brain. You're teaching your system to recognize progress, and progress itself becomes a cue of safety. This is nervous system training in real time. Every repetition, no matter how tiny, strengthens your capacity to live from safety instead of survival. And again, the point is never perfection. It's consistency, because your body learns safety the same way it learned fear, one experience at a time. So now to integrate it, I want to invite you, before you head back into your day, give yourself a moment to notice what has shifted even slightly. Maybe it's a deeper breath or a softer jaw or a little more space in your body. That's your nervous system responding to safety. Remember, this work doesn't happen all at once. It is built in micro moments, when you pause before reacting, when you catch an old thought and choose a new one, when you remind your body that you're safe now, when you use the safety sequence. And it can be helpful to keep your new story close. Write it in your journal. Say it out loud before you fall asleep. Practice it in the mirror when you start your morning. These small repetitions are how you teach your brain that the story has changed, not through force, but through familiarity. And if you ever slip back into the old story, that's not a failure. It's just feedback. It's just your nervous system reminding you where the work still lives. So come back to your breath, to your body, and to the grace process. And that's a wrap on our 3-part ReStory series. We started with awareness, noticing the stories that you carry. We then learned the tools to shift your stories through the lens, the language, and the state. And today we practice releasing old stories with the GRACE method and embodying new ones in our daily life. I hope you walk away understanding that you are not the story you inherited. You are not the story that once kept you safe. You are the author now. And your story is still being written. You have so many blank pages ahead of you. Now, if you try the GRACE process this week, let me know how it goes. Join us in the Nervous System Journaling Club. The links are in the show notes. There you can share your reflections, your journal entries, or even the affirmations that feel powerful for you. And remember, your nervous system isn't just listening to what happened. It's listening to the story you tell about what happened. So choose one that lets you live with more safety and more resilience and more hope. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Building Resilience podcast. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about managing stress, building resilience, and leading a more purposeful life, then make sure we're connected on Instagram and Facebook at Leah Davidson Life Coaching. You can also subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.leahdavidsonlifecoaching.com/newsletter. Looking forward to connecting.